Thomas's falling out with Gordon, Percy, and Toby had begun to spread around the railway like wildfire. Some engines were divided on where they stood. Very few to Thomas's side, while everyone decided to the affected engines. One morning, Gordon was fuming at Titmuss sheds about the issue. The nerve of that little blue rat, huffed Gordon. To think you could simply just apologize and expect everything to magically be okay again? It's just disgraceful. Disgusting, fumed James. Despicable, grumbled Henry. This constant arguing is driving me mad. Now see here, Gordon, Edward said, trying to keep the peace. Don't you think you're taking this a little bit too far? I understand you're mad, but that doesn't give you the right to keep holding it. But that doesn't give you a right to keep holding it over Thomas's smokebox. There has to be a time when you two can actually work this out in a civil manner. Pah! Snorted Gordon. As far as I'm concerned, little Edward, any civility Thomas had left years ago when he got that backwater branch line of his. Will you knock it off already, Gordon? Fumed Henry. Some of us are trying to get ready for work here. Gordon said nothing more and fussed away to fetch his express coaches. Meanwhile, Thomas was getting ready to do some shunting in the yard. After hearing about what had happened, Sir Thomas had decided to have him work in the yards at Nafford while Rosie worked at the Farquhar branch with Percy and Toby. As Thomas was filling up with coal and water, he saw Rosie backing down under Annie and Clarabelle.
I'll take good care of them for you while you're having a reprieve from the branch, Rosie promised.
Thanks, Rosie, sighed Thomas.
Oh, cheer up now, Thomas, soothed Annie. Things between you, Percy, Toby, and Gordon will get better, added Clarabelle. It'll take some time, but you'll see. That did make Thomas feel slightly better. After his tanks and bunker were filled up, he set to work arranging trucks and coaches for the other engines' trains. First, he arranged Gordon's coaches.
Next, he shunted in trucks for Donald to take to the coaling plant.
Then he shunted cattle trucks for Douglas to take to Farmer McColl's farm. As he was arranging some bands for Henry's heavy goods train bound for the mainland, he couldn't help but think back to the day he lashed out at Percy and Toby. The pair had only been trying to help him after his fallout with Gordon, and his anger had gotten the better of him. He was so lost in thought he hadn't heard Edward puff up alongside him.
Thomas, are you all right? The old legend asked, concerned for his friend. What? Gasped Thomas. Oh, hello, Edward. You startled me there for a moment. I didn't mean to startle you, Edward replied, but I am concerned. You've been in a lot of deep thought lately. Does it by any chance have anything to do with what happened between yourself, Gordon, Percy, and Toby? Thomas sighed. He knew he couldn't hide it from the engine that had been his mentor so many years ago. Yes, he said solemnly. I can't shake the thought that I let my anger boil up to the point of snapping at two engines that I care about a lot. Those two had been by my side through my ups and downs, especially after Mrs. Kiley passed away, and in Gordon's case, I've been trying to think of ways to show him I was being genuine when I tried to apologize to him after I'd derailed his coaches. Edward pondered for a moment, taking in what Thomas had been saying. I understand what you're saying, he began. Like the old saying goes, time heals all wounds. They'll come around, but you can't force it. For now, focus on getting yourself in line first. Then you can handle the situation going forward. I hope you're right, murmured Thomas, feeling slightly unsure about what his friend and mentor were saying. Trust me, Thomas, things will work out. Even in ways you aren't expecting, Edward said with a warm smile. Thomas, having taken in what Edward said, resumed his work.
A few days later, Thomas had been tasked with taking empty cattle trucks to Tidmouth Station for Toby to collect. It was time for the farmers on the branch line to send their cows to market. As he made his way along the line, Edward's words started to buzz around in his smokebox like angry bees. He was so deep in concentration, he hadn't heard Toby puff up alongside him at the platform.
When did you get here? Just now, the old tramp said, taking note of the blue tank engine's expression when he puffed into the station. Toby, I've had some time to think about what happened last week, Thomas began. I was wrong for lashing out at you and Percy like I did. I get why you did, though, Toby replied. You were upset about what happened with Gordon, and it hit a boiling point. Yes, sighed Thomas, looking out at his buffers. I'm very sorry, Toby, and if Percy were here, I'd say the same to him. I'll pass the word along when I see him, smiled Toby. I accept your apology, and I do hope things work out between you and Gordon. Thanks, Toby, smiled Thomas. I hope so, too. Now I better get back to Nafford. Those trucks and coaches aren't going to shut themselves. Take care now, Toby said, watching Thomas puff back to Nafford. In the branch line sheds nearby, Percy had heard everything and looked at Toby with a small smile on his face. Toby said nothing more. He just winked at the little green engine. At the same time, while Gordon was taking on water, he was still fuming about the situation with Thomas. The nerve of him! The nerve of him! He muttered to himself. He was so lost in thought about what he'd say to Thomas whenever they next met, he wasn't paying attention to what he was doing. After his dinner was full, Gordon had started to move towards the platform to couple up to his afternoon express train. However, the points were jammed, and he tried to cross. His wheels came off and crunched against the sleepers of ballast. Great gears! Exclaimed Gordon. What happened? Nobody was hurt, but Gordon stood dazed and surprised. So Tom came to inspect the damage at once, while Stanley brought the breakdown train to the scene of the crash. Oh dear, this is a disaster, he cried. I haven't any engines in the roster currently available to take over for you, Gordon. Surely there must be someone who can do it. That train must be on time, Gordon said. What about Thomas, sir? Asked the station master. His next passenger train isn't until later tonight. Thomas? Thomas? Pah! Exclaimed Gordon. That pathetic, overrated little blue runt of a tank engine won't be able to haul that train. If anything, he'd probably just derail the coaches again, or worse, lead them behind again like he did all those years ago. That's enough out of you, Gordon! bellowed Sir Topham Hatt. I've been hearing about your little follow with him recently, and yes, I do agree that he was in the wrong for derailing your coaches. But you were just as much in the wrong for egging it on. Even more so now, Thomas is one of my hardest working engines, and I value you all equally. Once you put back on the rails, you will sit in the sides and think about your actions. Is that clear? Yes, sir. Sorry, sir, mumbled Gordon. Strawman soon made the arrangements. Thomas was to take the express as far as Crovan's Gate. From there, another engine would take it the rest of the way to Vickerstown. Good luck, Thomas, he said. Do your best now, you hear? I'm going to give it a jolly good try, whistled Thomas. As soon as the passengers were on board and the guard blew his whistle, Thomas set off.
It was hard work with 10 full coaches behind him, but he was determined not to give up. Soon, with a huge effort, he got the heavy train rolling. Gordon watched nearby, stunned.
Thomas soon began to make his way along the main line. It took longer than usual to get him up to speed, but the passengers didn't mind. They knew he was doing his best. Soon, however, came Gordon's Hill.
Give it all you got, Thomas, encouraged his driver as she kept her eye on his steam pressure.
I can do it! I can do it! Panted Thomas. He began to feel the drag of the heavy coaches. As he started the long climb, his axles ached, and his wheels slipped fiercely. Suddenly, there was a loud crack! The steam began to engulf Thomas as he came to a standstill halfway up the hill. Ouch! What happened? He asked, wincing.
Oi, as if things couldn't get any worse. Your safety valves burst, I'm afraid, said the fireman.
Oh, botheration, grumbled Thomas. How in the world could this possibly get any worse? No sooner had Thomas said that, he felt a jolt on his coupling. The heavy coaches had begun to roll backwards. the strain finally hitting Thomas, pulling him with them. Luckily, the guard had been jolted awake by the movement and began to apply the brakes of the last coach, while Thomas's crew did the same thing for him. With their combined efforts, they brought the train to a stop at the bottom of the hill.
Well, that's torn it, groaned the driver as she stepped down from Thomas's cab. I'll have to go and phone for help.
The driver went back, phoned Sir Topham Hatt, and explained the situation. An idea came to him after looking out his window. I'll have help sent before you can say Bob's your uncle, Sir Topham Hatt said, then hurried out the door. Gordon was sitting in a siding closest to the station, lost in thought. Gordon, I need you to listen up, came a familiar voice. What's the situation, sir? Asked Gordon. Thomas broke down on the hill while trying to take your train to Crovan's Gate, explained Sir Topham Hatt. I need you to go and rescue the train. Gordon thought for a moment. Thomas was the last engine he wanted to see. But after remembering the passengers, he took a deep breath and then thundered off to find Thomas. Here I come, little Thomas, he bellowed. Back at the hill, when Thomas's driver revealed Gordon was the one coming to help them, the little engine's face went pale. Oh no, Gordon's sure to make fun of me for this, thought Thomas. His thoughts were interrupted by a familiar whistle. Well, this is a fine how do you do, isn't it? Having trouble, I take it, little Thomas, asked Gordon, pulling up alongside the stranded train. Thomas said nothing. He was still afraid of what the response would be. No matter, let's get these passengers to their next stop, shall we? Gordon soon positioned himself at the rear of the train. Once in place, the guard fastened the coupling between him and the brake coach. Are you ready up there? Called Gordon. As ready as I'll ever be, Thomas said shakily. Then off we go! Express coming through! Gordon started pushing hard, and to Thomas's amazement, he started to move. It was a slow effort at first, but with Thomas's driver keeping the brakes off, it made Gordon's job a bit easier. You can do it, Thomas shouted. I know I can do it, huffed Gordon. Slowly but surely, the big engine pushed Thomas and the heavy train over the crest of the hill. And began to pick up speed going down. The station was whizzed past as the two engines thundered along the main line. Soon, Crovan's Gate appeared on the horizon, but instead of stopping, Gordon kept pushing the train, continuing all the way to Bridgetown and leaving the waiting engine speechless at what they had just witnessed. We were supposed to stop there, exclaimed Thomas. We're behind schedule as is, bellowed Gordon. The pair carried on, until finally, tired but triumphant, they arrived at Bridgetown where a speechless flying scoundrel was waiting. Well, now, this is new, he chortled after taking in the strange sight. Looks like my little brother's really done himself this time. I must commend you both for your efforts. You can thank Thomas, my dear brother, called Gordon. He's a true credit to the Northwestern Railway. And I'm proud to call him my friend. Thomas, still tired from the whole ordeal, could only beam at Gordon's words. The passengers sang the praises of both Thomas and Gordon before getting on their train for the mainland. Later, Gordon was shunting Thomas to the steamers to have his safety valve mended. Good Gordon, I have something I'd like to say to you, Thomas. As do I, replied the big engine. I'm sorry for how big-headed I acted, as well as thrilling the coaches, Thomas said, looking forlorn. And I'm sorry too, Thomas, Gordon replied, also looking forlorn. I shouldn't have goaded you on like that. And I shouldn't have said what I said when you first tried to apologize. I was also wrong for wishing for you to be scrapped. I'd let my anger toward you get to me, and I didn't think before I had said it. Knowing how it feels to lose brothers and sisters like that made me come off as hypocritical in hindsight. I should have never said that, and for that I'm sorry. You really mean it? Asked Thomas. Of course I do. And much like my brother did earlier, I must commend you for your efforts with the Express after my mishap back at Naplet. I know I tried my hardest to make up for lost time, but look where it got me, said Thomas. Now I know how you felt all those years ago when your safety valve burst outside Henry's tunnel. Burst safety valves can happen to the best of us, agreed Gordon. But I need my number one ally in top working condition for the future. Does that mean what I think it means? Thomas asked, a hopeful smile on his face. Yes, grinned Gordon. United we stand, together we fall. You help me, and I help you. The two engines took turns sailing as Gordon shoved Thomas into the steamworks. The little engine couldn't help but beam. His alliance with Gordon was in the stages of healing, and so was his friendship with Percy and Toby. Thank you, Gordon, called Thomas, for everything. You're welcome, little Thomas, Gordon called back before heading back to the sheds. Thomas felt so much better that he thought his boiler would bubble. A week and a half later, when he came back, the other engines, having heard what happened, greeted Thomas with a chorus of cheers and whistles. But no engines whistled loudest of all than Gordon
the big engine and our number one hero,
Thomas, the tank engine.